It's finally happening for Dogecoin. And the biggest catalyst behind it is Elon Musk and his latest move for Doge. So let's talk about it. So as you can see, Dogecoin added 20% to its market cap in just 3 hours. This happened right after the news about Elon Musk's Twitter deal got out. It looks like the deal is in its final stages, and a lot of people believe that Dogecoin is the one currency that'll benefit the most from this deal. And this is why. So 2 weeks ago, Elon said that Twitter should use Dogecoin as a payment method for its Blue Premium subscription service. Even back then, he had a 9.2% stake in Twitter, which meant that his word held a lot of power even then. If you don't know, Twitter Blue is Twitter's first subscription service and offers exclusive access to premium features on a monthly subscription basis, Twitter says. It is available in the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. The point is that if this buyout happens, he will definitely accept Dogecoin as a payment method for one of Twitter's services. And what we need to keep in mind is that he's going to exclusively accept only Dogecoin as a payment method for Twitter services. We didn't see him recommend any other crypto for Twitter services. Now think about this. Twitter is a platform that's used by hundreds of millions of retail investors every single day. And the majority of them haven't invested in Dogecoin. So an endorsement of that level, coming from the new CEO of Twitter, is bound to attract hundreds of thousands of new investors into Dogecoin. And that's exactly what Elon's plan for Dogecoin is for the coming months. If it continues like this, I wouldn't be surprised to see 30 cents for Dogecoin by the end of May. Do you think it's possible? Let me know in the comments section below. Now let's talk about some other interesting news for crypto from today. So while Dogecoin rose 20% in less than 3 hours, a lot of this came from the BSC whales. So the Whale Stats on-chain data platform has reported that Dogecoin has entered the list of the top 10 coins BSC whales after the recent bump. Now we know that whales are the biggest shifters and movers of the market. And if they have their eyes on Dogecoin, it means that we can expect another one of these surges very soon. Another thing that happened today was that Elon replied to Billy Marcus's tweet about Dogecoin. So Marcus talked about the 3 things that will add utility to Dogecoin this year. They are businesses accepting Doge. The more it can be used as a currency, the better. Using Doge as a tipping currency, which is the purest use case that brings happiness. And Dogecoin and Ethereum bridge, which will allow Doge to be used with Web3. All efforts to use Doge, accept Doge, have fun with Doge, and build technology to assist with these actions are worthy. There are infinite speculative instruments in crypto, but I would prefer Doge to be a useful one beyond just speculation. Now, Elon had something really interesting to say about this. He said that, first one, definitely. Second is nice to have, and third isn't needed. So what he's trying to say was that Dogecoin is just as big as Ethereum in terms of potential. Dogecoin is self-sufficient in terms of how big it could be in the coming years, and Elon Musk truly believes it. Perhaps he's also trying to say that Dogecoin doesn't need ETH's support simply because Elon's unwavering support is enough for Doge's success. In any case, I'm really glad to see how Elon doesn't miss any opportunity to support Dogecoin. Now let's talk about Ethereum for a minute. So ETH recently witnessed a major surge in activity according to crypto analytics firm Sentiment. In a new tweet, Sentiment said that ETH's daily active address total hit 592K on Wednesday, which is the highest amount since March 18th. On top of that, the discussion of Ethereum on social media this week also hit its highest level in 2 months. Lucas Autuniero, the head of research at blockchain intelligence firm Into the Block, also said that ETH printed nearly $800 million worth of net outflows in the past week. Basically, the metric is calculated by subtracting the net inflows from the net outflows over a 7-day period. And exchange outflows can signal an accumulation phase. And finally, Ethereum recorded about $97.3 million in accrued fees, which is a 14% decrease compared to the week before. So basically, things are looking really good for ETH right now. Now let's talk about Bitcoin for a minute. Willy Woo, who's one of the biggest on-chain analysts, said that Bitcoin seems a bit undervalued right now. He then said that it appears that the indicator he discussed is extremely oversold. In the chart, he presented the highly liquid supply shock oscillator and contrasted it with the history of Bitcoin's price. We can see that this indicator is currently at an all-time low. He then also said that it's not a bad time for investors to wait for the law of mean reversion to play out. He was obviously referring to a theory in technical analysis that suggests that asset price volatility and historical returns eventually return to the long-term average or mean level for the entire data set. In the case of the oscillator in question, this would mean that its chart would eventually have an upward bounce, and then it would lead to an increase in highly liquid supply. Foremost, it is worth looking at the periods when the highly liquid supply shock oscillator reached extremely oversold levels. This chart juxtaposes the lows in the indicator with Bitcoin's price. We see that in 3 out of 5 cases, the lows on the supply shock oscillator coincided with macro lows in Bitcoin's price. This was the case in instances 1, 3, and 4. The oscillator bounced off the bottom, and Bitcoin price never returned to such low levels afterward. However, in 2 out of 5 cases, the low level of the oscillator did not mark the absolute bottom of its price. This happened in cases 2 and 5. Sure, the low level of the indicator signaled a local bottom for the Bitcoin price, but the price later dropped even lower. Today, the supply shock indicator presented by Willy Woo is at its all-time low. This is potentially a bullish signal for Bitcoin price. However, for it to be confirmed, the indicator, according to Willy Woo's comments, must first of all turn back towards the mean. In addition, Bitcoin must resume its uptrend. If this does not happen, the rise of the highly liquid supply shock oscillator could lead to declines or further sideways movements in its price. Moving on, something really good that happened was that Binance said it was able to recover about $5.8 million worth of the stolen crypto loot. Basically, Binance traced the stolen funds when they were moved from the hackers' wallets to Tornado Cash. This is incredible news because this would ultimately discourage hackers from doing all kinds of crypto frauds, and this will then make cryptos a seemingly safer bet for more and more retail investors. Another thing that'll discourage crypto fraud is this proposed bill in New York State Assembly. This bill seeks to define, penalize, and criminalize fraud and target developers and projects created to dupe crypto investors. Now let's come back to ETH and Bitcoin for a minute. It looks like the government is planning a serious move against Bitcoin. So the internal European Union documents have revealed the extent of anti-Bitcoin talks among EU officials. These papers also talk about their desire to protect cryptos like Ethereum. Earlier this year, Swedish financial regulators and the European Commission discussed the possibility of banning Bitcoin's proof-of-work mining mechanism due to its environmental impact. Officials went as far as suggesting the EU enact an outright ban on trading Bitcoin to curb its overall energy consumption. They then suggested to its developers to follow Ethereum in transitioning to the less energy-demanding proof-of-stake mechanism. And then last month, the EU voted against a ban on proof-of-work Bitcoin and crypto mining. The point is that many governments' officials might be supporting ETH while totally disregarding Bitcoin, and this is the kind of manipulation that we need to beware of. Now let's talk about crypto adoption for a minute. So it says here that charities and nonprofit organizations have begun to incorporate NFT and cryptos for fundraising. In 2021, the number of donations in digital assets made through the Giving Block organization surpassed those made in 2020 by a massive 1,558%. Another good news about adoption came from SFL Mavin Corp, which is a luxury products designer and producer. It announced that it would accept Bitcoin payments specifically for high-end antique jewelry purchases in physical and virtual worlds. Also, it has already initiated the process of diversifying into Bitcoin as a line item on its balance sheet. And the big news for crypto adoption came from Germany. One of Germany's biggest banks has applied for a national crypto license. The application was submitted to the German regulator back in the first quarter of this year. If approved, it will enable the bank to offer crypto asset exchange, storage, and protection services to a wide range of customers. And in the initial phase, these will most likely be institutional customers. If you don't know, this bank, called the Commerzbank, has more than 18 million individual customers and 70,000 institutional customers. All of this implies that we'll see a lot more institutional money come in from Germany in the coming months. Now let's look at Dogecoin's technical analysis for a minute. As you can see, we have 15 buy signals now, and if you remember, we had just as many sell signals for Dogecoin just yesterday. Dogecoin's current price is above nearly all of its moving averages. This just means that things change very, very quickly in the crypto world. And this is why it's important to hold onto your cryptos until you have complete information about where the market could go from that point.